is this not a... You're not listening.
So, I wanted to play that. I wanted to show a conversation I was having with one of my grandchildren. Maybe I'm being a little bit over dramatic in my representation, but welcome. This is Dr. Paul. You're listening to Blog Talk Weekly. And remember, you can always catch me on my email if you listen to this. So hopefully you have my email, but I'll give it to you anyway in case it's out there at drpaulholisticscience.com and Paul W Dyer at gmail.com. So I want to talk today. It's the reason why I did that with and that was the newest of my granddaughter, Genesis. And Genesis means in the beginning, but I want to talk to you about polarity, precision, and alignment. Normally I ask questions about the different things that we are going through and how we talk about it, but today is strictly a lesson. And as I'm going through the lesson, I'm actually going to be writing, so I stay particularly on point. So if you hear me scratching in the background on the blog radio, that's just me scribbling about as my ideas flow out through my head. No, I don't. With my conversations I have with you, or conversations I have, I don't write them out. I allow them to free flow. And the reason why I do that, because this is not something, I am not trying to make a point. I'm trying to create a conversation. So I'm not trying to drive you into a corner or to pull you out of a corner. But I hope it does pull you out of a corner. And sometimes I hope it does drive you into a corner so you can think about, how am I supposed to pull myself out of these corners of these questions that Dr. Paul had to ask. So, polarity. Now, when we have a conversation with someone who we are not understanding, and that's what that was. It was I not understanding her, or was she not understanding me? Either way, there is a difference, isn't there? There is separation. There is polarity. There is a disconnect between our connective energies, or is there? And so, because so all this is going to get wrapped up, and I'll start it now, is that when we are with people, things, places, and all those nouns, and doing all those verbs, and associating with all those adjectives, there's a polarity. There is alignment, and then there is precision. The alignment comes with, we are always, if you look at it as a planetary system, we're always rotating. And in the relationship between health and energies and connecting with the source, it expands that rotation. And it includes in any system. All those systems have in there the relationship between health and energy. The system that is dependent upon the health part is the energy. And the underlying principle of that is polarity. Many things have a reconnecting source from where it has come from and what is attaching to. So just think about your life and think about how you grew up, how you learned things, and how now you're applying them to where you're going, and then you meet another. And that other is a relationship. Now, in the relationship, and I'm going to use some words that we've used in other things, like in diseases regarding the effect of energies being disrupted. So if you're with a person or anything, there is always going to be a disruption. Now, does it have to be a disease, meaning there is a negative effect? And the negative effect is disruption of flow. Now, even though all things, if it's a disruption, that means it changes the flow, but I'm going to be very precise that just because it changes the flow doesn't mean it disrupts the flow. The process of releasing obstructions happens only in the precisions of the action of the personal mind. The process of releasing obstruction is only in the precision of the personal mind. Now, your physical health is the reconnections of energies in the body with the reperspective of the centers of the sources. Polarity, meaning that thing that we have with other objects, that if we don't understand what it is and how it's changing our flow, it will cause disruption. Now, most of us understand polarity as having an opposite to something. Well, yes, it's not so much that you gotta remember. Sometimes it's not a in science polarities. It's not so much that it's an opposite or positive and a negative, but there is a source. There, you have your own energy source, right? You have your own body energy source. And in those sources we have transmission. And those transmission keeps us what you call in rotation and in the movement. Now, one of those things that you can look at, and I'll give you the diagram because it's hard to see the diagram of what I'm writing even on the paper, but you have like the Da Vinci Man, the Tree of Life, and you start circling around the body and the connecting points between the head. People know about the chakras, and then people know about the different energy points in the body. And being a holistic doctor, you have your points and your pressure points and your meridians. So all those lines has this force field around it, and that's why we do the action of breath. That's why we do the action of the martial sciences, and we do the movement and how we do the movement, because all those are either enhancing or decreasing the disease or the sickness that's invaded us, or we're trying to create a power source to send out. Kind of like when people do the Reiki, or if they're taking in sickness or sending out health. Now, along with this, you still have the science of life. You still have the sacred geometry. You still have the 44 seals of Solomon. You still have the actions of the mudras. And the mudras are the different hand gestures that people usually do when we're doing meditation. Our hands go into certain alignments to move certain energies of the body. But when we're talking about relationships and alignment, and also it's going back to my granddaughter, if we were trying to have a conversation and we were having a disconnect between who we are, what I am, and what she is, and what her points was trying to say, then there is a positive and negative. Now, there is always going to be the law. There's a cosmic law. Physics have laws. The actions of connection has a basic law. And your polarity my polarity, or the others that you are connecting with, or any things of matter. The positive electric forces generated against pressure, resistance, and positive intensity increases the contraction due to the pressure of what you are doing. That is part of the law. You also have a negativity electronic forces that radiate in the direction of pressure and assistance and a negative intensity. So you have a positive electric force and you have a negative electric force. And they swing in and out the body. And as you're doing your rotation, meaning if you're doing your movement, if you're not controlling those different actions in your body, then your energy is spewing all over the place. And that's where things come into more disruption or dis-ease for the persons of the body. The person of the body has a disruption in it. It has a flow between head to toe. Just giving you parts of the body that, we have earth, we have wind, we have all these elements. Those elements also create a pressure. Those pressure also have precision. And those precisions can be alignment issues and they have a polarity issue. For instance, you have water and opposite is fire, right? You have earth and then you have metal. We hold things in our bodies from head to toe, from left to right. We have grief and desire and anger and attachment and fear. And if you go down in your body, they hold those things in a certain part of your body. Just for instance, anger is normally associated with the liver and the mid part of the body, and it's a fire, around the solar plexus or things like that. Okay? So you also have desire. Desire starts in the chest, in the heart. We know that, where we feel love. But that's also part of air. So when things are happening, when you feel like you can't breathe, that's part of that desire. That's part of that taking your air away. These things are important to know and to study. And I want to help you learn these things. And I want to help you study these things. I want to help you reach the understanding of what these energies are doing. When we talk about polarities and energies, we can also talk about fractal alignments, right? And then most things come down to fractal mathematics. But I'm not going to get into that. And it also seems that the manifestation of the outside of your body, the ether, is uninterrupted energy flow. And it can be uninterrupted if you understand where your sources of energy is coming from. Because when we disconnect with someone, are we disconnecting with who they are right now? Or are we trying to connect with what we want them to be? Or we are trying to connect with what we believe they should be? Or are we connecting to something what they were? See what I mean? Because as we evolve, evolution, revolution, revelations, rotation, those are all movements. Those are all movements. And then if you are always in the process of moving and you're not understanding the polarity, the ultrasonic core, the pathway of motion, right? You have 5 primary centers, and they are always located along the central canal of the spinal cord. And that's how the energy moves up and down the body. That's why if you have a bad back, a lot of things can go sideways. It's a funny thing, sideways, because if you have a bad back, you're always probably bending over. But it's a health joke. Go on. But if that central created look, if that energy is moving up and down that spine, and that's where that tree of life comes in. You have the pranas are formed between two currents and energy points between the core, the eye center, the two current points of the five primary oval fields, the head, the neck, the chest, the abdominal, and the pelvic, right? These are the fields: the head, the neck, the chest, the abdominal, and the pelvic. Those are the five primary oval fields. Okay? Keeping those in shape. Those are where all those alignments are coming from. Those are some of the sources of energy. You have air, earth, water, right? Fire, the five elements. We have these energy sources. They interplay with what's going on externally and internally. And if we're in a relationship and we have these misalignments, because when we get around someone, when you get around some things, because I don't always want you to think this is, especially this specific podcast, that is just about people. It could be about things. And those things speak to you. Those things have an emitting energy force, right? They do. And that emitting energy force has a connection to you. So look beyond the passions or virtues of just people. Move into all existence of life. The elements expresses our experience of emotions. They're either gross or they're subtle. Movements is like a lifestyle of habits. And as well as the fluids and the tissues and the courses of the metabolic body, they have purpose. They have precision. They have alignment. Think of going to a chiropractor. From the emotions to the physical state, they have an alignment. To the overall quality of life, there is a polarity between what you are, what it is, and where it can go, and where it's from. The sources of the body. These things are purposeful. These things have a direction. But if you're not aligned with your direction, if you're questioning the trust of the connection or the moving on, and because you move on doesn't mean you're disconnecting from the human being or from the person. It just means you're moving out of the energy field. And it's not a positive. It's causing disruption. I look back at my notes. It's causing a disruption, and that disruption's causing a disrupted flow. Inhalation, exhalation. It's the cosmic pendulum. It's the cosmic movement of life. Is the cosmic purpose of why we dedicate ourselves to the breathing technique. You know, with our circadian and meridian clock, each body part has a strong field in it in times and other times. But I don't know if you knew that. You know, we have 12 major points in the body. You know, the spleen, the heart, small intestines, the bladder, the stomach, the large intestines. I mean, I'm not going to go through this anatomy class with you. But we have this. And each of them, liver, each of them have a time signature of what they do. They either They're either positive or negative. Remember that swing back of the energy field. Those things have purpose for us in our life. And then we have what you call the mental, along with the emotional. And that's where this all comes down to the signs of the fractals and then using the seals, the tree of life to understand our energy fields throughout the body. Because all this has a connection to the three things: polarity, precision, and alignment. As we move through the different processes of our life throughout the day, we're in constant motion. And I want you to start looking at your personal polarity before you have a disconnect or a connection with other polarities that you're rotating around. Yes, the simple words of be careful who you're with, be careful who get out of people that's not good in your life. How do you know? How do you know they're not good in your life? Maybe they're teaching you a lesson. Maybe the lesson is there for you to understand what powers you're emanating or what powers you're lacking. Where the negative force is, where the positive force is. Just because something is negative doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's actually creating a different source, right? Creating a different electromagnetic field. And we talked about that earlier. Because there are laws. There are laws. Negative electronic forces that radiate in a direction of pressure. There are laws. Positive electronic forces generating against pressure, resistance, and a positive intensity, right? In and out. Inhalation, exhalation. There are positive, there are negatives. But we look at negatives as things that are bad. No. They're waves. It's a waveform. It's a magnetic waveform that is created, is charging and discharging. That's what it does. So when you look at polarity as only having the differences as top to down, no, they don't look at it that way. Don't look at it because yin and yang or opposites are not bad or good or positive, negative. Positive not meaning just being plus, or negative just meaning negative or bad, but there's just the exchanging of energies, right? And that's what we talked about before. Once you understand the exchanging of energies, when our electromagnetic field is disrupted, healing will not be as successful. We have electronic magnetic field that we produce between the energies that we create. Things are affected. There's anxiety, sleep, all these self-destructing behaviors. Stress, when it comes into your life, is one of the major causes of disrupting your own personal magnetic field. That's what it does. Are there exercises? Of course there are. Do we try to tell you? Yes, we do. But I'm not getting into that now. I want to talk about polarity, precision, and alignment. I don't want to get this lesson on too long, but I just want you to have some of the basic understanding of what polarity is and how we can understand them, clean them up. And once you have inquiries that you want to ask me, I want you to reflect on what your body's comprehensive is and your energy. We've been doing this for thousands of years. This is nothing new, but I don't think we put it into the pieces of the puzzle of the practice. The pieces of the puzzle of the practice and then you got to train it, and then you got to do it, and then you got to go back and the pieces of the puzzles of the training. Because it's a constant. If you're going to move constantly, then the energy moves constantly. Then the swinging back between inhalation and exhalation, discharge, negative, positive, all this is always happening. Because you have the primary notion is that energy has three states: a positive outflowing aspect, a negative respective, and a neutral. That's it. But you don't know where you are in your actions and movement. So, this is Dr. Paul. Thank you for listening to you, and thank you for all my sponsors for supporting Dr. Paul W Dyer Blogcast and all of his shows. And I appreciate you, and I love you all, and I hope we can reach and keep and teach. Hope you can reach each other, teach each other, and share with each other. This has been exhilarating, and I love it. And so, if you go back to the conversation I had with my granddaughter, sometimes we're just not listening to each other, or we're just not understanding each other. But either way, there's still a form there. So let's get better at it. Let's keep practicing it. And let's keep loving it. This is Dr. Paul.